Welcome to Jameson's Repair Shop. My name is Alvin, and this is my channel. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. And if you're a repeat visitor, thank you very much for coming back. I really appreciate it. A little bit about myself. I retired 10 years ago from the mining industry, underground mining, worked through all aspects of that. And once I retired, my wife told me, you need to have something to do because you're driving me nuts. Anyway, so speaking of my wife, she does appear on this channel from time to time. Her name is Beverly. So what we have here behind me is my 65 Thunderbird convertible. In this video, which is episode 87, that means this is the 87th video on this particular vehicle. And a little backstory on it. This vehicle behind me, the 65 convertible, was a junkyard rescue. And it was in bad shape, no doubt about it. Anyway, out of the 87 videos, we managed to get it to what it looks like today, which is still a long way from being on the road again. So in this video, I am going to recreate it's called the Apron support assembly. And then I did the driver's side. In this video, we're going to be doing the passenger side. And that'll mean I have to build 3 different parts for it. There's a outer part of the assembly, and there's an inner part of the assembly, and then some of the upper part of the apron was rusted away. Previous videos for this particular apron assembly job, 2 other parts to this, part 1 and 2, so go back and watch them if you have a chance, if you want to be caught up. If not, just enjoy what we're doing here today. So let's get into it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the inner support piece. So I'll be making that out of 18 gauge steel. So in making that part, I'll be using the bead roller and the tipping die and a little bit of shrinker stretching. Let's get into it. It'll be fun. This is my favorite part of this restoration work is the sheet metal work. I'm not big on grinding and I'm not big on body work. So what we're going to make here, we're going to get a piece of steel, flat steel, and then I'm going to tip it on my bead roller on the tipping die to get that shape in, and we'll put a 3/4 flange on it. And then on the bottom, you'll see that this has a bit of a turned in part, just a bit of a lip, and that's just a straight push. So pretty easy part to make, so let's get at it. We'll get a piece of steel and we'll do that. So now what have we got here? So I want to make sure, so I have to go ahead. So that mark right there was the length of this one, so we'll put that on like so, and right there, yeah, so that's where we need to be, and that'll give us our arc, and then it came on the end and went straight down. That's why I had the little notch on there to remind me of it. All right, hold on, up a bit. We need to go above that black line, don't we? There we go. There we go. And I can mark this off. And that's where it ends. And then we need another one of 3/4 inch up. So I'll measure 3/4 to give us our flange. Yeah, we're wasting a bit of material here, I know. We won't go to waste, we'll use it. It might be a little heavier than 3/4, but it's better than too little than 3/4. And I think that just was kind of like this. There we go. Oh yeah, I'm going to put this all the way down because that drops down. Just like so. See how well that fits. Oh yeah, that's going to be good. And we got a little extra, a tiny bit extra for the bend. All right, well, I'm going to get set up, get my tipping die on, and we'll tip this here. Straighten her out a bit there. All right, let's set up the bead roller. Let's see what we can do here. I was going to put a guide on. I think I can do it freehand. Let's see what we can do here. You know what? If I muck it up, I make a new one. Make another one. There. Oh yeah, that's coming. You start to see the arc too. But once I flatten this out, like once I get it at a 90, that should straighten out. I think that's as far as I'm going to get with the bead roller. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it on the bench here, and I'm going to hammer dolly it. Hammer form it. It's looking pretty darn good so far. But anyway, we'll get this straightened out. Yeah, I'm gonna have to shrink it because it must have stretched the metal. Yeah, so if I shrink this a little bit, it'll come around. I was wanting a little bit crisper edges than that. Let's try this thing. Maybe we can crispen it up some. Ah, yeah. All right, I'm going to put it on I'm going to shrink that just a tiny bit. All right, we'll give this a bit of a shrink. So we'll straighten this out a bit. Doesn't take much. That's not too bad. I think that'll do it. Now what we need to do is put that little lip on. She's pretty darn flat there on the table. So I got to roll the bottom of this in a little bit just to make that look. So what I'm going to do here, I think I could probably just kind of do it on the rail iron here. Just guess at it. All right. How does our piece look in there now? Ha ha. And that looks like that piece. So let's go over and try it on the car and see how it looks. Did it stay? No, it's got a little bend in it. I had to give it a little stretch. All right, let's go take it over and look at it on the car. All right, we got that done. Looks pretty darn good. Now we have to build this piece right here. All right, I'll get some tape on. So I get my tape opened up here. And I have to remember to add a flange onto that part of it. Just like the bottom has a flange, the same thing. There, we have some tape on it. So like I say, I have to remember to put a little flange up here. And then this flange here will be marked. Where's my marker? So I'm going to put a line right here. That's one line. And then it'll be a 3/4 flange. And then I'm going to put this line on. I'm going to put it right down the center. I'll adjust it as I bend it. And all the stuff can be remade if it's not working right. And then that is where the flange starts there. And then this is the flange. Right there. So I'm going to need a piece of metal from here to here when it's all stretched out. So I went ahead and cut a piece of steel and I started laying out this stuff. Now it looks kind of messy. This line here can be kind of ignored right up to there. So what I'm trying to do is get it, I need it long enough to have an overlap. And I think I have enough there. There's this long piece. So this piece here goes like that. So that's the wedge piece. And then this piece here went on the end of it. Like so. And that should give me, let's see. I'd like to have about 2 to 3 inches. So there's a good 2-inch overlap right there. So that would be good. So I can leave that. has a 2-inch overlap. I'll just put a mark on that's overlap right there. This will need a flange, so I left this line here is for the flange, 3/4 flange. And it goes all the way up, but then it flattens out here, but the flange is, I can split it there, so I can just make that flange. And this is for the bottom right here, and this is for the bottom flange. And this area here on the car, and I think I cut this right off. Yeah, I did cut some off, so this area out here, about out to here, was flattened out. And you'll see what I mean when I get around to it. So this is what we're looking for, this shape right here. So I think if I break this long straight line first, and then I'll get a 90 just like that, and we'll go from there. I just wanted to mention we're still doing renovations on the house, so the garage over on the far side away from the Thunderbird is quite messy, so excuse that mess, please. So what I want to do is make this up, and we'll get our 90. And with that up, we'll bend this lip down, or this flange down, and I'll trim off what needs to be done up there. And I found the last time I had to leave some and pound it flat because the intersect right here, it gets all jarbled up. Anyway, let's see if we can bend this up. See what we come up with. And any kind of discrepancy, we'll fix it. There we go. Well, that turned out pretty decent, I think. Well, let's see how well it turned out. So this would be the bottom, and this is the inside of the piece, sort of like that. So I'm kind of lining it up like that, and that's the area I said would be flattened out. So it goes along like this, and I'll need the flange. And now I have to allow I took some of the, with the grinder, I cut some of it off. And then this is the piece that went in that was cut away from it, like so. So we'll go a little bit further along, like that. So now I need to put, oh, that's not right. Yeah, it is. Oh, this is not quite 90. Hold on. There we go. I went past 90 a little bit. So it's pushing the metal out away from it. There we go. Yeah, that's better. It's in tight there now. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So I needed 2 inches from there. So that's good right there. And I think if I bend this flange on, at the mark I had, 3/4 of an inch. Let me measure that when it's tucked in tight. 3/4. So I'm going to mark up 3/4 from that edge on the other side. This out of the way. And we'll break that. I got that marked up. So we're gonna make this bend here. Going to make this bend go down, so when it goes against the car, it'll go against that piece I made. If that makes any sense to you. It barely makes sense to me. So let's measure this first. So I'll measure the bottom of this. So we're looking at 2 inches. So this is a kind of a critical part right there. So that's not quite 2 inches. I think if it is out here though. It's 2 inches over here, but not here. So let's just back this off a bit. So this needs to be right. And now I'll probably, so that's 2 inches. There, let's go with that. And it wouldn't hurt to be a tiny bit oversized to allow for that overlap on this end. But I can always put the overlap in. Oh, measure the other side now. Make sure that they're both 2 inches. That's 2 inches. And that's 2 inches. Good. Good to check it. Ooh. There There we are. There. We got our flange on, so that will sit like this. This is the inside. So now this is the tricky part, is getting the flange on here. I may split this back some. The last time I had this, I pounded it down like I said and then bent it. But I wonder what I can do different this time. Let me think about it. So I went ahead and cut the strip off. I left enough for a 3/4 flange. I tried to break it on the brake, but I just couldn't get in tight enough. So I said, what the heck, I'll just do it. I'll bend it over on my workbench or a block of steel that I have laying around. I've got a nice heavy block of steel. I'll put that up there maybe and do it. It's long enough. So let me get that set up. Well, I've got my heavy block of steel set up here, but I am going to clamp it down. Should be able to do something with that. Haha. Easy peasy. And like I said, that flattens out on the end anyway. Now, if you were doing this on a body part that's exposed, you would put a piece of sheet metal under the vise, under the clamps there, so you don't mark it up. But this is the inside of this, and we're not going to look at it. Just a little tip. There we have a flange. And I'm going to flange just a little bit right here, just in case I need it. So you can see how it marks up the metal. So if you didn't want that to happen, you would put a piece of sheet metal on top of the metal and then clamp it. Not a real great looking one, but it'll do. There. And if you did mark it up, you can always tap it back out. Like so. There we are. So I think this here is enough in this area to plug weld to. I'm pretty sure of it. I'll nip that end off when I'm ready. And if it's not, there's that guy with no muffler again. And if it's not long enough, I'll put a piece on. There we go. Let's see how it looks with our wedges. So they're like that. And this one went like this. And we had a 2-inch overhang. Yep, that screws right out to the end. So I may end up putting a little tiny piece on there. We'll see. All right, let's go over to the car and have a look at it on the car. So this one goes to here and is clamped on. Let's see if I can get it to stay like that. And then this one goes on the outside like so. It's just sort of like that, I think. Yeah. I think. That's 2 inches. Yeah, 2 inches overlap right there. I'll put another clamp on right here. Clamp is tight. There we go. And then this will be clamped. Yeah, I'm gonna have to weld a piece in here. Weld a piece in. And this will have to be pushed up a little bit. But anyway, I'll do something with this. Now there's how she looks. Of course, it'll all be drawn in tight. and reasonably well on the plug weld holes up here. This one will have to be shifted in just a tiny bit down below, but that can be tapped in there. Running along good on the upper rail here. Oh, sorry, up on the upper rail. And this is our 2-inch overlap right there. So I'll have to put some spot welds in. Also, the one in behind it, I need a piece of metal taken out, but we'll get all that done. Okay, it's coming along very well, actually. We got those pieces made underneath here, but now it's time to deal with this top piece right here. So what I'm going to do, I'll get some paper. So I did outline, if you guys can see it or not, I've outlined the area that I need. So basically it's here to there, up to here, it comes over and up to here and over there, and then this rail. So this is going to be not super complicated, but it's got several layers of complication in there. So we've got some bead rolling, we probably have a little bit of brake work, but we'll see how it all works out. Okay, so I have a piece of steel laid out here. I'm just going to trace it. I cut the pattern out. You can see I trimmed it back, and I almost forgot on that rail. I had to leave it a little bit wide because I forgot to put this piece on. So they're actually right about here. I can see the imprint of it still. I forgot to mark it off. The rail has an edge that comes up sort of like this. The fender rail, and it kind of comes along to nothing, but I'll check it before I make it. And then there was a bit of a rollover on the other side, so I had to leave it long, so I'll leave that even longer. So when I put this on the metal here, I'm going to cut it larger. Then I'm going to trace it out just roughly, sort of like this. Sort of like that, and I'll have lots of extra, I hope. There. And this I'll just leave on. I've got my pattern laid out, and I kept it tight to that side because I know that this is a 90. This will become a 90, and I can trim along here. So this is the engine side of this pattern. This is actually, if you're standing at the fender, you're looking in toward the engine, that's how it is. I will have to readjust the depth of my bead roller right in this area, because this drops straight down. And this here, I thought this line here, this one, tapered off, but it doesn't. It stays even. I went over and checked, so it stays right along like that. So that's easy. So that's just a straight push. But I want to get this this area done here first. So I've cut these little windows like I'm doing right here, just to kind of give an idea, so I can draw get a straight edge on. So so I know where the other line is. I mean, if I'm following this line and my bead roller is set right, this gap should be good. But I'm just going to go like that just to be sure. This one I'm not going to worry about. It just shoots off that way, so I'll have to draw it on to go over to there. I'll put this one on here just because. And you know what? Like I say, you've heard me say it many times. If it doesn't come out right the first time, we can redo it. So this does step up here. So this here is a step up. So I have to remember that this line, this whole area here is all the same level. So when I come along like this and it turns, that drops down to this level, to this width, but up here it comes up. So there's a transition right here that I'm going to just kind of roughly mark in, and I'll have to remember to do it, and I can hammer form it a little bit if I have to. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put some marks on here so I know where to return this to. It doesn't hurt to have some reference lines. And then this here is the very end of the rail, this top rail. And this is the very end of where it goes down to the apron, to the battery box apron part of it. All right, let me get this drawn up, and we'll see if we can do something with the bead roller. I cleaned the metal all up. Had it cleaned up, now it's dirty again. Anyway, I cleaned up the metal with some lacquer thinner so the marker sticks better. All right, so let's get at the bead roller and see what we can do. Okay, so this one first, right there. Now I got my die set, and I'm gonna bring it in, and I'm just gonna give it a light go. I want it to be on the metal, but I don't want to go crazy with it the first time. So let's follow that along. So there, we're touching. I'm gonna go one turn. There's the gist of her. So you can see that that's a step up. Now I'll freshen that up with a hammer and dolly. So that's the step up to go to the rail. So I need to bring that all the way back. Let's do that. That rail mark. Reverse, where are you? There it goes, right out off, there. I'll do a little bit of hammer forming, and then we'll deal with this, and we'll deal with this. All right, let's see what we can do with it. I went and broke the rail, like that, and it needs a little flattening out, but not hard. But right now, I want to cut that edge off. So right about here, I'm just looking at the driver's side. Right in this area, right in here or so, there's a tab. All right, so it's 13 inches back from the front. So I have a line right here is where the original one is. So it's 13 inches back. Like so, right to there. So I need to leave it further back. So it came sort of like this and then back. I'll just leave that all on there for now. And I'll just leave it a little shade longer. And I'm going to cut this all off. Sort of like that. And I'm just going to use the grinder doing that. So let's get that done. To clamp it a little bit. Jethro clamp it. No, it's Jethro Bodine, wasn't it? Jed clamp it. Jethro was the nephew. All right, let's cut that off. And that little tab is 1 inch. Okay. All right. All right, let's go over the car and see how it looks. Oh, I didn't do this, sorry. Let's cut this first. Let's see. I'm just gonna cut it straight. And anything I needed to redo, I'll redo it. Because this went right down around, right down onto the, all this did. Sort of like that. I think it went a little further, but when I'm ready to weld it in, I'll tap it around. I'll leave that little tab on there until I'm sure I don't need it. Now let's go over and have a look on the car. So, does that look anything like this? Right there's where it goes. So of course the old one has to be cut out and this will be brought down to meet the under braces that we made. But I think right there, that's long enough. That goes right to the leading edge right there. Good, good, good. So I think that'll pass. I mean, it's not 100% Ford, but I'll tell you, it's all right there. It's almost as good as a reproduction part. Almost, not quite. Okay, here we are. So like I said, there's a tab that goes down here, and that's for the insert that goes up in the, I believe that's what it's for. Anyway, I'm going to call it that. It's for a fender, part of the fender anyway, if nothing else. But I think that's looking pretty decent. There's the edge of the old one. That's how far we needed to come out. We've got our fender piece on there. And our new pieces underneath. So now I can kind of scribe this out. I think what I'm going to do, I'll get this piece that I just made and I'll get it put in. Actually, no. No, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to put in, because since I have the original right there, I'm going to put the under braces in first. That way, where they sit, that means this will be the exact height of the this piece here will be at the exact height it needs to be. And if it doesn't, we'll have to modify it a little bit. All right, let's do that. Okay, so I've just been piecing things together, kind of making it as it would be on the car. Just rough fit. Still have to cut this tab out a little better. That can be done anytime. In here, I have to pull all this stuff down and I have to clean and de-rust anything up inside. Well, this whole thing has to be de-rusted, this section. Pretty easy. Get a little wider shot on that, maybe. Yeah, so that's not hard, so I'm gonna get at that. But I'm gonna pull these off and I'm gonna prime the insides of them and the underneath of this probably. So I'll get that done first. Okay, I got these all primed up. This I have to clean up because I'm overlapping at 2 inches. I'm not going to worry about this area de-rusting because it's all going to be cut out. But I will have to come in. Where is that joint? Yeah, right in here I'm going to have to clean up for sure, this area here. All right, I'm going to get her done. Man, oh man, that's a dirty old job. Give it a quick rub down with wire wheel and then some sandpaper just here and there. I'm gonna hit it now with some phosphoric acid. Let's get this coated and we'll get back to you. There we go, I'll let that simmer. It's already starting to turn dark. Hopefully I got it all. If not, I'll continue to work on it. I might have to do a little more in here. I'll give it a scuff. I'll see how it looks after it dries out. So I'll let that sit for a while. And we'll come back and we'll start putting this piece in. These two pieces here. And then it'll be this top piece. Well, there we go. All done. I had an awful time with the upper ones. Now, the welder kept kicking out. I couldn't get good welds. It's a problem with that circuit that I was in. I was plugged into my outdoor plug in the front of the garage here because it was closest with the cord. And I'm using a 12-2 cord on it, and the cord's only, it's like about 15 feet long. But man, it just can't get good welds out of that plug. I switched it over to one of my plugs that come off of my in the garage junction box there, or breaker box. And man, the welds cleared it up. And I didn't do anything else. I didn't change any gas setting, didn't change any power settings or feed settings or anything. But it just complete night and day of that plug out there and this one. So there's something definitely wrong with that circuit. It just doesn't provide, whether when they built this house, they didn't put a big enough cable in, and it works well for block heaters and stuff. But anyway, enough rambling on about the power. I got it sorted. I know what's going on. And I knew that, but I kind of forgotten about it. And it was a struggle. Anyway, these welds are much better. I did a couple little stitch welds, little short welds there. And I did 4 up from underneath and 6 there. And I did another couple of little welds along there, runs of welds. And you don't want to weld them solid because you don't want them cracking off. So just give little spots. An inch long or so is fine. Went all along here nicely. The next will be putting the top on, this top piece. I have to put the battery box, the apron part in as well. So I'll see which goes in the best first. But this has to be out of the way for the battery box and apron to go in. Okay, let's get this piece done. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Hold on. My tag on my jacket. My wife says your tag's always out. Put your tag in. There, the tag's in. You guys will let me know if it's out again, won't you? Thank you. All right, let's get this done. So I've got a grinder here. So I'm just going to cut along here where that line is, right on there. I'm going to cut that line right off on that ridge right there. And then I'm going to come straight out and get rid of this whole thing. And then I'm going to cut, I think I'll just cut the way I have the line, where the line is. Now I did weld the bracket underneath, so I have to be careful of that. I'll put some earmuffs on. That was quick and easy. These Thunderbirds, perfect grinder holder if you have the guard left on. And you should have the guard on, you shouldn't take them off. Now what do I do with my piece? Oh, I'll put it down here. All right, let's have a look. So it's going to go sort of like that, but down. So it's going to have to go back further yet. So what? I think it goes right to here. That needs to be cut off. Yep, let's cut that off. There'll be some fitting going on here. Oh, what did I do there? No, that's right. That's right. I said, oh man, did I cut too much? So I am going to have to, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to put the apron back in. Like so. And then I have something to go by. There. Good. Let's see now. What can we do here? That's pretty good right there because it comes out all the way to here. So I'll put a clamp on that one. Just trying to cipher it all out. Now this is a homemade part, so there's going to be some fitting going on here. So this will have to be tapped down and clamped down a little further. I may end up slitting this and dropping it down. We'll see. Now I need to get this down in here, so I'm going to have to mark that. Right over like that. And if I can cut through there, should be good. And I'm just going to cut it straight down. Like that. All right, let's see how that goes. So I have it down in there. Yeah, so this is all going to take a bit of manipulating. All right, well, I forgot to turn the camera on there for a minute, but that's okay. All I did was I fitted this a little bit. Now I'm going to go cut this off. There's going to be a little bit of filler work here. This is not deep enough right here, so I'm going to have to, I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to split this to drop it down to meet the apron, and then I'll fill it in. Like I said, it's almost as good as a reproduction part. Not quite, but almost. So that's what you do when you're making your own stuff. But right now I'm going to clean off. I'm going to cut that off. Some of the sparks are hard on my cameras, so I'm going to try this. If it gets too sparky on the camera, I'll have to stop. That should do her. Let's weld that up. So you'll hear some whistling sounds, but it's the fan pulling air out. There. That'll hold that steady. We'll tack here. There. Good. So that's down and locked down. So what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to slit this and then drop that down, and I'll put a filler piece in. That's the only way. My bead roller wouldn't quite do that. So let's see what we can do here. I decided to slit it up on higher so then I can, it's easier to fill, I think. Little sliver will go in there. Plus it keeps the shape. Good. I forgot to put holes in there, and I forgot to put holes in there, so that'll have to be done. Huh. Well, there you go. Smart I am. I should have had plug weld holes in there. Oh, well, I'll drill some in. What I'm going to do now, I think I'm going to try to fit this apron. Yeah, so I have to cut this apron down in here. So I think I'm going to do that. So I have the hole, if you can see that, I have this hole lined up. And that's where I wanted to cut, right along that line, so I can bring that up. And this is tight against there. It could come up some because, you know, that's what I'm doing here. Let's see if we can get this done. I gotta clean that seam a little bit there. It's getting hard to... The phosphoric acid puts a barrier down. It makes it hard to weld through. All right, that's going along quite well. There's gonna be a little bit of hammering, a little bit of fitting. I'll check back in when the time comes. Well, I got it all welded in. This rail's reasonably straight. This is the under the fender here, so I won't worry about it. This is the part that's important. And it's tight. And I didn't finish grinding. I'm just gonna move ahead. If you guys want to see 2 hours of grinding, let me know. Just straight grinding. Looking pretty good. I'm going to give it a clean down. I'll blow it out because I've done it with the phosphoric acid, so you don't want to wash that off. But I'll blow it down and wipe it off, dry wipe. Get the prickly pear of cactus stuff out of there. Anyway, there's a couple of those sticking around here. But there's still some grinding left to do, and I want to do welding underneath there. But for now, I want to get some primer on it, make it look good. And yeah, little spot there. I'd like to redo that one. Little things, but I can. I'm just using red oxide primer. I can retouch up the primer as I go. It's not a problem. So let's get some primer on this. There now, she's in primer. I'll still be doing some more working around here. Like up underneath this battery tray, I wanted to double weld it. So up in there, so there'll be some grinding. So I'll just touch that primer up when the time comes. That's a lot of work done on this section right here. Actually, there was more work in here than I thought it was going to be. But that's generally the way it is. Where we're going next, most likely back to the valance area on this car. I do want to get the Bronco in. How many people would like to see some Bronco work? I'd like to get the Bronco in and get the quarter panels put on it. And there's a few other things that need to get done. But back to this car, there's some, on these upper cowl, or these cowl pieces on each corner, there's rusted on both sides. And that was the part I missed in my update before. I had an update on this and what was left to do. And this was one of the parts, and the valance area and that rear quarter panel needs to be finished up. As you probably saw, there's still a cleco sticking out of it. We're winding down on the rust repairs, guys. Anyway, if you stayed in here this long, it's a longer video. Thank you very much. And you know what? Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see some Bronco work. And if that's the case, if enough people are interested in doing Bronco work, we'll go for it.